Hi everyone! So today I brought you guys a podcast related to working life in Korea, and this episode is going to be about 회식, which is company dinner. So if you guys are interested in Korea, and I know there are rumors or kind of scary gossips about 회식, so I wanted to clarify on some of them and kind of give you guys a little glimpse of what you'd be expecting to see for the company dinner. So let's get started. So 회식, which is company dinner, is basically company gathering where you have dinner with your department or even the whole company, depending on the size of the company. So if you are in more like the smaller company, then everyone joins, whether it's like 10 people or 20 people, versus if you're in a bigger company, that's with everyone. And normally, you kind of talk about how work is and do a lot of bonding during the company gathering. So typical 회식 goes like this. First of all, you might leave an hour early. Some of the companies are really nice by letting you guys be done with work before you get off work and get to the restaurant that they usually reserve. Sometimes they don't reserve it and go directly, and sometimes they don't even leave earlier and just might say, hey, let's go for a team dinner right after work. So you get to the restaurant, usually it's the barbecue place, but you eat and drink for around 2-3 hours because normally they like to go to a place where you'd be cooking or where you can sit there for a while and kind of get to know each other, do all the bonding. And then after that, back then, sometimes they would go for second rounds, but now it really depends on the company. And for second rounds, it can really depend on going to karaoke or bar place. And the main focus kind of there is to get wasted because you're really exhausted from work and you just want to have fun and get drunk. A little bit about the second round is that Koreans have this thing called 눈치보다. 눈치가 보인다, which means consciousness. It is much harder for them to deny and say no to going to second round because the seniors sometimes think that 회식 is an opportunity to grow and get better placement in a job field. They think that it's kind of part of social life and they want to see how well you do with your social life. So sometimes they require you to go. You don't always have to go, but that's kind of the scheme. It did change a lot where usually they don't do the second rounds, but really depends on the company. So then why do Koreans do the 회식? The textbook answer is bonding with employees. But personally, maybe in-depth reality that I faced when it comes to 회식 is you get free drinks because they usually use the company card to buy the food and the drinks. So if you love drinking, this is a perfect opportunity. And another reason, there used to be kind of a meme regarding this saying that seniors don't want to go home because they don't want to interact with their wife, since they have a baby, or their wife doesn't want their husband to come home because they basically put the baby to sleep and they'll wake them up. That was a meme. We don't know if that's true or not. Really depends on the household. And lastly, this kind of becomes a little sexist. It doesn't happen always, but rarely. Some people, female or male, want to drink with the younger generation, especially the opposite sex. And I'm not just talking about older guys wanting to drink with younger guys. I've also seen the opposite of older ladies wanting to drink with younger guys. So it goes both ways, and I do find it a little disturbing, but that does happen. And so they will find reasons to drink. For example, the company is doing so bad. We need to cheer up. Let's go for 회식. Or company is doing so well, guys. We need to celebrate. Let's go to 회식. Company won an award or something. We won something really big. Like we have to celebrate. Let's go to 회식. Company couldn't get the funding we needed, so we have to get some alcohol. We need some cheering up. Let's go to 회식. It's a holiday, end of the year holiday that also requires going to 회식, or even just it's rainy and it's gloomy. We need to cheer up. Let's go to 회식. Not all companies, but I have seen every case of that, and it was pretty amazing. So they will find reasons. They somehow will find reasons to go and do a gathering or bonding. And it can get worse where every weekend, every Friday, you are stuck drinking, sometimes even during the weekends, they might ask. Now, the pros about 회식, not everything is bad, but personally, these are the reasons that I find that 회식 is important. You get to eat yummy food. Trust me, they go to really nice restaurants sometimes and really serve you well because they want to really hype up the team and give positive energy to their employees. So sometimes the food is expensive or in good quality, especially for those who live alone. You save up money. Second, I find 회식 important because you get to really bond with the people in your department, especially if you have any questions or concern about your future career life, where you can get some advice from them and they have really good advice. Or maybe you're stuck on something and you needed advice, but because your senior was way too busy, that was the only time to talk to them. So 회식 is a very good way to ask help, and maybe even it could also lead to good promotion because you're really enthusiastic about work and you're willing to talk about the company, how you can grow by just asking questions. Next positive thing is if you like to drink, this is really good place to go. I went to a couple of 회식s where they would serve me really expensive alcohols, like some Japanese sake that I've never heard of, but apparently it's like $200, $300 one because we had to also invite a guest over to the 회식. You get to learn different drinks that they serve you, which is pretty interesting. So that's something that I actually really enjoyed when I was young because buying alcohol by myself, going out with friends was also costly. And last but not least, if you are super outgoing and love to talk to people and love bonding, this is such a great opportunity. When I was working in Korea, I really loved 회식 because I could really bond there, especially if you really love your teammates. I've actually had a couple of times where I met my old coworkers and we would just go out for drinks, and it does feel like 회식 again, and we would talk about like how we enjoyed work or how this was hard and everything. So if you are that type of person, this would be a perfect place to go. It is such a different vibe from what you'd be seeing in your country versus the Korean one, and it's very energy gaining for those who are enthusiastic and love meeting people. Now, for the cons, obviously if there's a pro, there's always a con. Here are some reasons why I don't like 회식. The biggest one I would have to say is sexual harassment. There are times where both sex do get lots of sexual harassment. This happen with girls. I never encountered it really hard, but I did have some time where they did very uncomfortable touching happening in my leg area. And you just kind of feel like I don't know what they are thinking of, but that was actually happening. Second one is forced drinking. 2017, there was actually some law that happened, but there are still some places that will force you to drink. And when I mean force you to drink, you have no clue what you might be drinking in those companies. And if they ever force you to drink in a company, especially in Korea, I would leave and find a different one. It did get better than the previous years in Korea, but they do definitely have that vibe somewhere out there. So those I still don't like, especially if your senior really loves to drink, then you cannot get out. Third one is useless conversation happenings. A lot of the time they like to gossip with people, especially those who aren't at the place or any clients or anyone you might even look up to. They might gossip and it sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. So I really didn't like that part of 회식, and I just kind of felt like, why am I here listening to them gossip about so-and-so? And you're just sitting there eating. You do learn a skill though. You end up learning how to not really focus, pay attention to what they're talking, and focus on how delicious the food is. And last but not least, this actually happened to me personally, but there is a type of ageist going on. Now, this isn't something that's common in foreign Western culture, but in the Eastern culture, respecting your elders is a very big thing, which means that when you are in the drinking culture, now if you are a foreigner, this might not happen to you, but they might have some expectations where the younger generation or the younger people, especially the entry-level people, will probably have to be cooking the food, especially if you go to a K barbecue place, or having to serve you alcohol, as in if your boss or your senior's glass is empty. Now this doesn't happen often, and there are seniors out there who would actually say, hey, you don't have to do that, it's okay, like I can just serve my own. But that could also be something that happens a lot. So those those are the reasons why I personally don't like 회식, but it is still a pretty interesting concept and pretty interesting culture or vibe that you'd be experiencing. And note that this is definitely for a boomer company, a company that has not developed and is very stuck in the older mindset. But I do hear that the recent companies out there, especially with younger generation as the CEO or the seniors, have done it much better and is adjusting to more of the Western culture. So here are the food that you will normally eat during 회식. First one is pork belly. That's the most common one. I think that is like 80% of the time you'll be eating that. It does get delicious. Like no one can say no to pork belly, I think. Next one is fried chicken. It's something that's easily shared, though I don't recommend taking the two chicken legs because Koreans really love chicken legs. That is also a common food that people like to eat. Next one, pork intestines. I don't like that one, but that's also a very common one that people like to go to. Fourth one, sashimi. That is also a classic meal that people can share because usually the portion is big at a reasonable price. So a lot of the bosses or seniors like to take their team to go there. And sometimes if it is a nice and fancy one, they might serve you with sake, which is also a nice pair to drink. And last, if it's a special event, for example, if your company won some award or got something done and the result was good, they might take you to a fancy restaurant, including Chinese restaurant with actual course meal or even just any type of course meal. Usually the popular one would be the Japanese course meal where they serve you sashimi, but in more of a fancy restaurant. That's for food. Alcohol, I think most of the time, maybe 80% of the time, it would be soju and mekju mixed together, so somek. And so if you don't like to drink beer, they might just serve you with soju since beer does get filling. So a lot of people, especially ajishis, like to prefer drinking just soju. And then usually for girls, they like to just go for beer. Luckily, they have tap beers lately, so tap beer is always an option that a lot of people would like to choose to. And they get the big picture one, you know, like the 1000 or 5000 cc, which is cheaper, but also can make people kind of crazy. So that's also something. I also mentioned sake when it comes to sashimi. And I think this is what people have never heard of before, but they are like the mixed drink. So I did mention somek, which is the common one where they mix drink with soju, and mekju, which is beer. 폭탄주 is a common drink where you mix whiskey and beer. You have like half of beer in a cup and you just drop a whiskey shot. 고진감래 will kill you, but it is so addicting. That is mixed with soju, beer, and cola. So you get this sweet taste and it doesn't feel like alcohol. It actually tastes like cocktail. Now there is a way to stack it up. You put the soju glass with a bit of soju in it first, and then you put another soju glass with Coke in it. And then you pour the beer on the side, and then you're supposed to drink it all at a very fast gulp. And that's how you get easily wasted. But that is also a popular mixed drink. Last, this one I've never tried, but my chat told me it is 50세주. Now, there is a drink which is rice-based fermented alcohol called 백세주. And 백세주 means you'll live up to 100 years. And so 백 means 100, right? Now, if you pour half of 백, half of 100 is 50. 50 means 50. So you basically mix half of 백세주 and half of soju and drink it together. They say it's really good. I've never tried it. I've actually never tried 백세주 either, but I think that's more of the recent trend drink that people are drinking too. Brought you guys some tips or expectation you'll be having as a foreigner coming to Korea for 회식. 1. Please drink chocolate milk right before alcohol. That will save you from hangover the next day. That's actually been a very common way of having less hangover, and you will thank me later. There's also some type of scientific reason that I heard, but apparently chocolate milk helps you with hangovers. 2, please drink lots of waters in between drinks. You are allowed to drink water. Sometimes people think that you can't drink water at 회식, which is not true. You can drink water. You just get super excited and just keep chugging, right? So please drink water. 3, eat as much as you can and learn how to pace yourself. This is pretty common, especially if you've gone to house parties in the US. People don't do that. Now, What's different about Korea versus the house parties that I've seen in the US is that at least in Korea, there are food. There are soups that you could be drinking, or there are snacks that you can be eating. Try to eat up and fill your stomach with more food than alcohol so that you can really pace yourself. Or even if you have a strong tolerance, don't underestimate the Koreans. I've had a lot of the times where a lot of my European friends would visit, and they also get as drunk as the Koreans, and it just becomes kind of a disaster. So even if you are good, I trust that you are good, but still pace yourself. That's where I want to emphasize. Next one, always have a good reasons if you could not drink. You know, using a foreign card is always helpful. For instance, if you have any religious reasons, or if you are on some type of medication, those work the best, medications, because you're not ever supposed to take medication while drinking alcohol. And last but not least, there are a lot of hangover drinks that you can drink after the 회식 at a lot of the convenience stores, so look out for them. Use them wisely. They are called 숙취 해소 음료. So if you want to go up to the worker there and ask for it, they will happily guide you to where that is. So this was the 회식 culture in Korea. I hope this helps you for anyone who is interested in working in Korea and are scared of 회식. It's not as scary as you guys might think of, especially because Koreans are moving away from the old 회식 culture and is becoming more of a positive mindset in terms of 회식 and forced drinking and any sexual harassment. They know how bad it can be. So hopefully this helps, and if you guys have any other questions regarding it, please leave a comment below and I'll get back to you ASAP. Thanks for watching and see you guys in my next one. Bye guys!